Hey everyone, John Hartley. Quite often I get ideas for buying new coins from social media. I'm a member of several Facebook coin pages, and when people post something interesting, I sometimes go out and look for it. Sometimes I just use Google and just put different phrases in and search for new coins. And sometimes I see coins on y'all's videos. And this is not the first time, more than the second or third time as well, that I've seen a coin that my friend Mike GPO got in the mail last week or the week before, I think. So I went out on eBay and I found one. And because my batteries died just now, I'll do this video in Mike GPO's fashion, where he's already got the package open and he reveals the coin to you. This guy had a letter and an envelope and that little doohickey there, all inside bubble wrap. I mean, he had it wrapped up good. Might be why my battery died, because it took me so long to get through all that stuff. But this looks like it might be from Great Britain, United Kingdom. It's not from Great Britain. Well, it's not from the United Kingdom. It is from Great Britain, but not the Isles proper. Comes from an island down south. New Zealand. And I just thought that that warrior in his spear and his grass skirt, I think they call it a Maori warrior. I thought that was a cool image. So, went out and got it. 1943, 500 silver, uncirculated. I'm pretty sure. Take a closer look, but it looks to have lots of luster. See that cartwheel effect on there? And I see no wear from here. So another coin for the foreign coin albums, and I like it. This is one shilling, and it's cool. New Zealand had some cool looking coins. I wish the art of coin making would come back. But doesn't seem like it will, after looking at the images of the United States commemorative for this year. Only one so far that I've seen. Usually we have two commemorative issues every year. Next year we might have too many. But anyway, the Basketball Hall of Fame, at least in the line art, looks a little disappointing. But that's all for coins. I had a couple of requests after I mentioned that I bought a carbine. Carbine is a short rifle to show it. So if you don't like guns, I understand. Some people don't. John does. And I'm going to show this now, so click the off button if you don't like it. So this is not just any gun. This is a collector's item. This is 1944 Inland. Inland is a division of General Motors Corporation. And it was made in 1944 for the war. It is an M1 carbine. Has a bayonet lug on there. That's just for fun. I wouldn't shoot it with the bayonet on there. I just put it on there for display purposes. These guns were made, you know, during the war. Everybody got to work on the war effort. And companies that were not making guns before, such as Inland, GM Corporation, National Postage Meter, Underwood Typewriter Company, Rockola jukeboxes, believe it or not, and Winchester, which did make guns. They made 6 million of these weapons in the few years that the war lasted. So when the guns came back from the war, the ones that were brought back by the Army, some people's grandfathers brought them back in their duffel bags, and nobody even worried about it. But the guns came back and they went to different arsenals throughout the country, and they were rebuilt because they were pretty tore up from the war. And when they rebuilt them, they took them all apart. The only thing that stayed together normally, unless part of it needed repair, was the receiver. The receiver is the part that makes it a gun. This is the part with the serial number, and is where the action is. And that's not just a phrase, where the action is. That's called an action, the part that the gun operates. I can own a barrel without having to go through a federal firearms license. I can own a trigger assembly. I can own all the magazines I want, in South Carolina anyway. And this is an original Inland magazine. It's stamped IA, which is Inland. And this is a new 30-round magazine. And that's what came with the gun, just because magazines are expensive. This original Inland magazine, which is beat up and everything, cost me $35. The one that's in it is a modern magazine made by a company called Pro Mag. They make good magazines, and that's the one I'll use to shoot it. But the guns were all taken apart, and each part was thrown in a bin, and then they refinished the ones that were rusty. They refinished the stocks that looked ugly and everything. And then when they went to put back together, they took pieces out of the bins that had already been either replaced, like the bayonet lug was not on the rifle during World War II. That was a change made for, well, it was made after the war, but it was, they used them in Korea. Before, there was just this belly band, and the belly band, now, after the war, they took the old belly band, threw it in the trash can, or recycled probably, and it has a sleeve on it that holds the bayonet lug where the bayonet is attached. The sights were improved. There used to be just an old peep sight on there. Now you've got one that's adjustable for yardage and windage, and they made other changes as well. So when the rifles came out of the bins, they didn't look at the manufacturer's stamp to see if it was an original to an Inland or whatever the receiver and barrel were made from. My barrel and receiver are both Inland, so they stayed together. But every other part is different. All of them are stamped. Because so many people were making them, they wanted to trace them. Most of them were stamped. and they stamp them sort of like a chop mark on coins. But the majority of the gun is different, but the gun itself is inland. The stock was made by Peterson Brothers in Wilton, Connecticut, for the Underwood Typewriter Company. And the Underwood Typewriter Company was making guns. So this is an inland stock with a Underwood, and it's marked over here, PU for Peterson Underwood. It's marked underneath this handguard. It has Peterson written out with a U behind it, which is pretty cool looking. The only part about this gun that is not original is the butt plate is one for a civilian market for guns that were made for sporting after the war. So I got to find one that's a Underwood plate and put it on the back of that, but that's okay. But the gun has all its stampings. It has its cartouche markings and such. I'll show you real quick. When the guns were inspected by the maker, they put a proof mark on it and put it on the bottom of the pistol grip part of the butt. And then when they were rebuilt, another proof mark was put on there. So this gun was rebuilt. That shows that. But other things, other than the condition and the jumbling of parts, when the gun is first received in 1944 at the Springfield Armory, it gets this stamp. I'm trying to get it at a good angle. There's two stamps down there. The one on the left says UEF, that's Underwood Elliott Fisher. And then that's the company that made the rifle. This, of course, this rifle used to be attached to an Underwood weapon. And the GHD is for Guy H. Drury. He was a lieutenant colonel during the war. He was brigadier general later on, but during the war he was lieutenant colonel, and he was in charge of, he was chief ordnance officer at Springfield Armory, so he approved all rifles that came in, all weapons that came in. And then besides that is the cartouche for the Springfield Armory. It's a circular belt with a set of crossed cannons. Then when it came back from the war and had its rebuild, that is a rebuild mark. It's hard to see, it's not as stiff, but it says C, excuse me, CSSA. I don't know what the C means, but the SSA is for the San Antonio, Texas Arsenal. So that's my new gun, my new toy. It is a real gun. It's not an imitation, not a copy. It's a firing weapon. This gun does shoot real bullets, 30 caliber. And this buttstock magazine pouch was sold to me as new old stock from 1948 by the Hepburn Manufacturing Company, but it's just a little bit too good for me to believe that completely. But I bought that just to make it look historically correct, because that's the way these have a snap on the back of them. It's snapped onto your pistol belt, and they originally were made to go on belts, and some people use them on belts, but they would grab an extra one and they'd throw it on the buttstock of their rifle, so they had a place to put 2 extra magazines of this size that go in there. So that's my gun. Still waiting on parts to get here, not parts, extra. I got one more magazine supposed to come in and should be here Saturday, and I'll go out this weekend and shoot it. Got my ammo, got 200 rounds. So that's all for today. Once again, my Shilling, and King George. King George the Sixth. Never met the fella. All right, my credit card turns over Saturday, and I am going to order my first regular bullion Eagles of the year. Already picked up the company, got a pretty good deal running on eBay, and I'm going to get a 2020 West Point proof silver eagle, and start looking for those West Point quarters with the privy mark. If you didn't hear about the privy mark, Salivate Metal put out a video on them and they announced it, and I put out a video on it night before last when Coin World posted an image of what the privy mark will look like. So go back one video if you haven't seen that yet, and see if you like it, or see what it looks like, so that it helps you can see it a little better in pocket change. So if you would, click on that subscription nickel in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. If you give me a thumbs down, tell me what you didn't like about the video. And please leave a comment. I like reading all your comments, and I try to respond to all of them. And until those Eagles get here, I'm 1042.